Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever the case may be. Wherever you're tuning in from on this beautiful, beautiful earth of ours. We're here to discuss Liverpool 1, Man City 1. And you'd think 1-1, okay, run of the mill draw. That doesn't tell half the story. We're going to try to tell you the story from our version, of course, from our opinions, of course, and we're going to try to share it with you. We shall also discuss where we at now in this gargantuan title race. It's a three-horse race, and Liverpool are absolutely amongst it all. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning in to Red Fellas on a Sunday night. You already know the house rules. There's already 100 of you have camped in here and having internal battles and wars like 2 hours before the stream even started. Calm, guys. Everyone calm down. Everyone's popping off at players and we should have won and we should have lost and his fault and his fault. Calma. We will get into it all, but obviously we will get into it all with the aid of you guys. So smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't. Go and check out the guys on their socials or follow up the guys on their socials. It's a big couple of months ahead for everyone involved with Liverpool Football Club. And today was I think a sign of things to come. Hopefully, an average age of 25 on that pitch today. First of all, I must admit, I've totally forgotten about the panel and not even given them an introduction today. I wanted to get straight stuck in, and I'm so emotional and proud and tired just watching these Liverpool people strut their stuff on the pitch. But Conroy, how's your feelings a couple of hours after the final whistle?
Probably exhausted, mentally a bit drained. A lot's happened. Even thinking about chatting about it right now, I've probably forgotten stuff that happened in the game. It was that There's that much to discuss. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now. That's why it's good to have this show to discuss things and get everyone else's opinion on it. But kind of where I'm sitting right now, I went out for dinner for Mother's Day right after the game as well. It was a bit of a rush, so just literally landed in my seat right now. I have an iron board as my table at the moment because the other table's getting used in another room. So it's been a makeshift setup, folks. So bear with me. If the table collapses at any point, bear that in mind. But yeah, looking forward to chatting about it, guys. To be honest, this is the day where I think this show is. Last season we had a lot of therapy sessions, therapeutic sessions, but I'd say today there's none more I look forward to than kind of just breaking it down with you guys.
No, I feel the same, mate. I feel the same. I feel like having a group hug. Like, do you know what I mean? That's how we feel, man. Yeah, we feel like a group hug, man. Because, yeah, Ev, actually, before Ev, I come to Ev, iron board. I thought you were going to say you've got an iron brew to keep the energy going. You didn't say that. So,
Yeah,
instead of
that as
iron
well.
brew, you've got an
Iron
iron
brew
board.
with iron board. Yeah,
I
that's
think
it.
you need an iron brew on that iron board to keep you going,
Definitely.
Iron Man. Uh, Talking of Iron Men, there was 11. Well, however many subs came on as well. 13, 14 Iron Men out there, Ev. Obviously, we're going to get into the lineup, but we look at the lineups and we needed something today. Looking at that lineup, obviously the absentees, we're going to get into all that as well. But yeah, your initial feelings, man.
I mean, we're a bit desensitized to the underwhelming lineup at this point. What it's been, are we pushing 8 weeks of underwhelming lineups? I mean, it's just been so much forced rotation week after week, and yet Liverpool kept coming up with the goods week after week for the most part. Obviously, City is a different case in all of our heads, so it was time to feel anxious again. But the big one for me is Jarell Quansah. I said it on Twitter. We've all used some version of the phrase. I would feel comfortable chucking Jarell Quansah into this game because he's been largely faultless. Here we are. There we were seeing Jarell Quansah being chucked into the big game, and yeah, largely flawless.
Big up Hip Hop Critical is in the chat. Big up Summit. He says super proud of the team. VAR aside, we shown where we are, Liverpool. We shown we are Liverpool. Grizz said 10 games left. We can lose one and win the others and still win the league. City and Arsenal will drop points. Keith, your overriding feelings before we get into the nitty gritty of the details and the finer things of the match. How do you just feel like sort of now? Are you good? Are you calm? Are you angry? I don't know. Tell us your emotions.
Yeah, it's a mixed bag of emotions actually. At one, but I think one of overwhelming like pride. We just discussed it off air.
Yeah.
You know, all you really want to see in a situation like this is that your team steps up to the plate in the big pressure situations to truly prove that you belong. You know, we're not talking about a Man City versus Liverpool game in August or September. There's a few games into the season. You know, anything can happen. We're talking about a big title defining game in March. And to put on the performance, not just for us, but for the neutrals, you know, if aliens landed tomorrow and they asked, you know, what the hell's all this football all about? Why should we be interested in football? You would show them Liverpool versus Manchester City today, because that was just the top of top level performances. So as a Liverpool fan, I'm proud. And as a neutral, I was just thoroughly entertained. It's been an entertaining weekend of sport as well.
As a neutral?
So, as a neutral, I would have been entertained.
Oh, I thought you said I thought you're saying you as a neutral, you was entertained.
As a neutral, I would have been entertained just to watch something of that. And I just and for me, it was great because my partner's away on business this weekend, so it was great. So I got to watch all the sport, and just wanted to also big up Anthony Joshua for showing the difference between boxing and MMA and getting the knockout. So overall, a great weekend of entertainment for me personally.
Amazing stuff, man. 300 of you coming up to what, 250? Oh, 300 of you, close. That was a bit of a jump. Smash the like button. We should be on 100 likes already. Standard procedure on this show. Come on, get the ratios up. Let's get the likes in. Cav, how you feeling? We were, you know, you was actually calm. You was actually calm. You was looking forward to this, you know, in the build up to it all. How do you feel now after the Lord Mayor's show?
Yeah, I'm incredibly calm, and I'm not sure if I'm confusing calmness with tiredness, because much like you, Keith, I stayed up, watched the Anthony Joshua fight. I was then up early doors Saturday
You
morning.
mugs.
Yeah, well, it was over quick, so at least I got
You
some sleep.
mugs.
As they don't watch the fight, I was up early doors the next morning because I went down to Twickenham to watch England in the rugby. I was hosting clients down there. That was a full day. I got back early hours this morning, and much like a lot of Liverpool players this season, this morning was just about recovery for me. And I about recovered, and then this game comes around. But I was calm, and you know what? I'm trying to think about why I was so calm going into this game, and I've drawn up the conclusion that Liverpool this season have found a way of getting by, but we've perhaps not played the best football at times. And sometimes we go into games questioning what Liverpool we're going to see, not only lineup, but in terms of performance. I was so convinced in my head that Liverpool would turn up today. And I think it's just because, you know, the last dance between the two managers, the fact that this is properly in a title race now, this is the run-in, and it's clear that Liverpool need to get a good result, you know. And I just knew that the performance would be there. And in these games, both teams play well, both teams create chances, and it usually comes down to who takes them chances. So I was calm going into the game because I knew I would be proud of this Liverpool team. I knew we would, you know, step up today. It was just, you couldn't guarantee what the result would be. So I was calm during the game, and I'm still calm after the game. And much like you guys have said, I'm just incredibly proud of this squad, to be honest with you.
This was the squad. This is the squad that we referred to. Look, we knew there's going to be possible absentees. We knew Konate was going to be sort of most probably out, touch and go. It was a bit coy about it. Klopp was a bit coy about it, but Conway, the team lineup comes out, and I guess a couple of interesting selections, or maybe forced or enforced or whatever. However, tactical changes. I don't know. Let me know, guys, if you think they were tactical more than enforced. And one of the changes that I thought may have been tactical than as opposed to enforced was the Gomez at left back instead of Robertson, and then young Kwanzaa playing the centre back role that he's been predominantly playing this season. Was you surprised or shocked or worried about that selection?
Probably a bit surprised. I think, to be fair, Joe Gomez has been in good form. We've discussed him the last couple of months. He's been superb. He probably felt that Robertson's just came back. He's been fine, but he's probably not as in the same form as Joe Gomez defensively. And Phil Foden's one of the best players in the league at the moment in form. especially coming from that right-hand side. So he's probably tactically... I looked at this before the game, guys. I couldn't find anything else, like injury-wise or taking a knock. I think it was just purely tactical, unless anyone knows anything different. From that mindset of the way Foden's been performing, you've seen what he done last week in the Manchester derby. Thought Gomez might have been the better with his current form to play against him. We'll speak about what happens in the game and maybe why the other side, Robertson, helps more because it improves our width and gets us up the park. But I understood that. I think Joe Gomez has been superb this season, so I got that one. And Bradley, when I looked at the back four, I thought as well, if you play Joe Gomez at left back, Bradley's going to be the one who's probably going to be more pushing up higher more often. I kind of like not a mirror image, but the opposite what we'd have this season when Trent was playing right back. I know he's been inverted, but usually Robertson at some points would drop into a back three, if you will, when we're attacking. So I think because Bradley was going to do that anyway, it was smarter, I understood, to have Joe Gomez there. And again, Bradley's been an absolute sensation. I think we all agree on that. He's just going from strength to strength. Doesn't look phased by anything. So completely understood. And again, I know we're going to speak about the game today, but he's not done anything wrong. He's made an impact in the game. I feel like this kid really will just continue to improve. So no issues with that at all. You could only say as well, with Mo Salah not starting this game, it's purely down to fitness.
Well, I was going to say, I wanted to get your opinion on the Robertson. Obviously, I wanted to.
I'm not going to have a rant.
I wanted you to fume a bit.
No, the thing is, I get it, but let's be honest. Joe Gomez, you can't argue with his form.
You can't argue with either one. Yeah, either one would have made sense in some way, shape, or form. Ev, I'm going to give you the midfield to discuss. The returning of Szoboszlai was crucial. His running power, his energy, his strength, his sheer strength up against this midfield of Man City's. McAllister alongside him, Ouattara, Endo alongside him. What did you think, or what did you anticipate the game plan was going to be from our midfield to counter this machine of Man City?
Well, I didn't want us to get drawn into, I guess, trying to press Man City too much. And the first 10 minutes were...
That's exactly what we done.
The first 10 minutes were I was looking to my dad. We were at Kezar Pub in San Francisco, and I was just thinking, long day. Long day if the first 10 minutes is the theme of the match. Luckily, it couldn't have been any further from the truth. But what I didn't want us to do that. So I'm glad whatever adjustment that Endo and McAllister and Klopp worked out amongst themselves, I'm glad it worked out. But that's what I didn't want to see. I did expect them to show up because I think now that Endo has found his groove and McAllister can sort of play in his more advanced natural 8 position, we are as organized in build-up as Liverpool have ever been. We are still a direct team when we need to be. We have those direct threats, but the way these guys have the profiles they are very different from what we used to rock with a few years ago. So I expected us to be able to maybe force City to chase us around a little bit. Whereas before in previous years, it was all about, can our engine room upset them physically? But now we have the players to say, hey, look, we can match you pass for pass, so to speak. So I was expecting that sort of game, and I'm glad the midfield figured it out after the first 10 minutes, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. I'm sure we'll get onto that.
No, cool. You're a very experienced member of the team now, so you didn't get ahead of yourself. Otherwise, I would have slapped you right back down. Keith, I'm going to give you the forward line. Obviously, the glaring omission was Mohamed Salah. A bit of a shock. I mean, I thought he was being primed for this game. I thought he's being rested, stroke held back. But obviously, and it showed, by the way, we'll get into his cameo. It showed he wasn't fit. It was the right call. Surprised that Harvey Elliott got the shout to go up there instead of Cody Gakpo and then disrupting possibly Luis Diaz or Darwin Núñez's position. Or is that what you would have done as well?
If we look at Harvey Elliott and Cody Gakpo's recent form, it would have been a massive disservice. Yeah, it would have been chalk and like, for me, Harvey Elliott did enough, I believe, to start this game, right? And I kind of I've gotten the impression that since Salah hasn't been playing, that right position has not been a like for like swap for Mo Salah. That right position has kind of been a bit deeper, and it's actually allowed the likes of Luis Diaz to play the Salah role. If you've not noticed, Luis Diaz has been the one over the past few weeks that has been popping up into centre forward positions. So it was actually a better move to have Harvey Elliott in that position and almost give Harvey Elliott a bit of a license to roam, if you will. He wasn't stuck on the right hand side, and he's not good at being stuck on the right hand side, but he is very good, I suppose, at linking up with Endo and McAllister and driving the ball forward and being available in creative positions. So he does that better on the right hand side than Cody Gakpo. So absolutely deserved to start. And I think Núñez and Diaz will be for the rest of the season. Like, they will be the two first names of the three on the team sheet. Salah being the other one once he comes into fitness. What I was interested in was how it would all work out, because I think City's what we've done in previous years, our front three have been like the counter press to their centre backs, and when you've got 2.5 in reality, you know, you don't have someone that's going to be on the right hand side. Would that obviously mean that City can suffocate us and move up the pitch quite quickly? So that was what I was really intrigued to see today. Like, what could our forwards do in the counter press? Because I didn't feel like we were going to have much of the ball at times. In the first 10 minutes, we did. In fact, first 10 minutes, I felt like we were playing. It was like as if Núñez really had to be Andy Carroll at times in the first 10 minutes, because we were just trying to search for that long direct pass every 5 minutes. So, I think, Cody Gakpo for me at the moment, I think he's just suffering from a loss of form and confidence at the moment. I think, you know, he's got a haircut now, a new trim, and you know, hopefully he can maybe get some minutes on Sunday against
So
Man
have
United.
you.
Huh?
So have
I.
you.
Yes. Yeah, have you noticed? Yeah.
I don't miss a trick, son, especially when it comes to hair. I'm an expert in hair. Let me tell you that. I may not have much on my head, but everywhere else I am blessed. So I know about hair.
Yeah, we don't want to know. We don't.
No, you don't want to know?
don't
Okay, no
need
problem.
to-
We'll stop right there. We'll
Hey,
stop
move
right
the
there.
conversation on. Come on, first off, let's go.
Cav, getting away from Keith's and Gakpo's new look. I'm not going to give you any individual sections of the team to analyze or give us your insight into, but just generally the game plan. That was the team.
Yeah.
We could get on with it. We some contentious decisions, some tactical, some forced upon him, but the game plan would have been. I thought the game plan would have been, let's try to stay in there until minute 60th, and then use the force of Anfield and the Mohamed Salahs and the Gakpos and whoever was bring on the pitch. Was that your mindset, or did you think, no, let's go toe to toe?
Yeah, it's a funny one, because obviously we're at home. There was a great reception for the team coming in. Obviously, hostility towards the Man City bus coming in, as you'd expect. The crowd were up for it. They recognised the expectation from them and their support for Liverpool today. And in years gone by, you'd have kind of expected Liverpool to be putting the pressure on Man City high up the pitch, winning the ball back early and just making it a difficult day for them. Don't allow them to play, try force errors out of them and you know, counter press and pile that pressure on. But this Man City team are incredible. And I know people have said, oh, they're not, you know, as good as Man City teams of old, but they are, you know, they are an incredible passing team. They're tactically so nous, they can switch it up, and at times their passing is flawless. So I didn't, as great as the Anfield factor is, I felt like today's game was about using it at the right time, because if we went gung-ho, they could pick us off quite easily. And I think the selection was interesting because in the absence of Football Khanage, we were forced to make a decision, and we did the preview Friday night. And I think when we were on the panel, we kind of disagreed who we would put in. I put Kwanzaa and I put Gomez at left back. And the reason being is because I trust Kwanzaa. I think he's a good centre back, and also he's always played as centre back, so he knows what his job is. The only thing he lacks, because he certainly doesn't lack ability, is just experience. And he's going to come up against a team that's very fluid, a striker that's going to, you know, test him, run him behind, pin him, and what have you. And it's how he responds to that. Whereas if you put Gomez in there, this is a man that's been moved around a hell of a lot. So maybe his mindset might at times be to step in, to bring the ball out and whatever. And it might be a little bit off just because it's become a little bit unnatural, if you like, because of all the various positions he's played. But also I wanted to see Gomez at left back to match up Phil Foden. And at the very least, right, if one-on-one, even though Foden kind of skinned him a couple of times, I back Gomez. I think he's a good player. And Foden will be stepping in on the left foot, which will be on Gomez's stronger right foot. But it would at least Phil Foden is naturally going to come inside into the pitch. And with Stones stepping out from centre-back into midfield, they already have 6 men in there. It's already congested. And I was quite happy to see Gomez follow Foden in the midfield and just basically congest the pitch, give them too little room to play in. And then when you win the ball back, try and be expansive and play in transition. I feel as if we'd have just played Robertson, the press would have been higher, would have been wider. And the last thing you want to do is give Man City space. So I thought it was quite smart. I like the idea of playing Gomez in there to step in field and just congest the centre of the park. I think when the centre of the pitch is congested as well, it restricts Haaland. I think they struggle to get the ball up to him. And then unless it's direct and he holds somebody up, it's difficult to try and release him. That's why they try to get the ball out wide, put crosses into the box, hit the byline, or Kevin De Bruyne comes deep and crosses from deep. He wasn't able to do that because of the congestion. So I like that. Yes, you give up the width offensively, but this team's going to create chances. And I think defense, this is why I talked about wanting to be ahead in the league when we go into this ties, because it enabled you to relax some of your offensive play and your width to gain some defensive solidity by doing that. So I thought the tactic and setup was good. Interestingly, Szoboszlai played on the left, and as a conversation we were having, I think we would all pick this midfield three, but would Szoboszlai go on the right or would he go on the left, and would McAllister go either way? I like that Szoboszlai went on the left because he has the energy, he has the work rate, and in a flying fullback in Kyle Walker, I would have screamed at seeing McAllister trying to chase that guy down, whereas Szoboszlai has running power. And although nobody can keep up with McAllister, he's got a better he's got a better chance than most.
That kind of will segue into my next talking point. Of course, our Arsenal resident contributor Bilal says Liverpool showed big mentality today, and you showed that you're a scarier side than City. A draw was ideal from an Arsenal point of view, but above all, I didn't want LFC to win today. Crazy intensity. Yeah, Bilal talks sense sometimes. Very, very rarely, but give it to him when he does.
Sometimes. Key word.
Sometimes. Yeah, sometimes. Conroy, I think Evan touched on it in terms of the opening 10 minutes. And I was exactly, he turned to his dad, did he say, in a pub. I turned to my mates on a couch. And I was really getting angry and frustrated. And they were like, calm down. Like, I've never been like this, guys. Like, there's a whole 80 minutes to go yet. 85 minutes plus. But those opening 10 minutes were very scary. I was thinking, but then even me, an old old head like me, knows that calm down. There's been 4 or 5 changes in this team. And also what Cav just touched upon, a midfield 3 that have played together, but positionally wise, the 2 8s have swapped positions seemingly. And then obviously Harvey Elliott in the front 3. Do you think, and obviously the changes in the back 4 with Kwanzaa coming in and Gomez playing in right back, was that the reason why our press was off? Because Man City were breaking the lines. Kevin De Bruyne and Foden were picking up almost the proverbial oceans of space in the opening 10 minutes, where you're supposed to have so much pressing and no space and tackles flying in. It was like we couldn't get near them for 10 minutes.
Yeah, no, I agree, Grizz, and I think it is probably down to that as well, kind of mixture of positions and shape on the park and working together in that system against one of the best teams in the world, the treble winners. So it's like, you're not just against Burnley away, no disrespect. It's like a team who's on it anyway, with some players that can kill you if you give them half a chance. So that's going to happen. I would say as well, what I noticed, and it might have not been the first 5-10 minutes, but Bernardo Silva movement was causing us a lot of problems. So like I'm looking at team lineups in there, and he was at the right hand side of the midfield, but he kept popping up on the left hand side, causing Bradley problems because he wasn't sure where to go, just kind of that half space there. And that they kept having that switch, and that kind of our press and our just shape was kind of pulled all over the place. And yeah, that's what, to me, I was slightly worried as well. But I did actually listen to you, Grizz, funnily enough, and you said it during the week. You went, right, I think it was actually in the Big Six. You was like, went 1-0 down to Arsenal. Gabriel in the first minute, Anfield didn't panic. We've had a few games this season where we've we've been down, we've been behind and came back. So there was confidence that I think the team would get going. I think it was just the lack of possession against Man City at the first quarter of the match. It just looked like they were relishing it, and we had a squad that just wasn't not as much cohesion, still getting used to their positions. But as Cav mentioned earlier, and Evan said as well, when you've got Anfield as an instrument or there that you can just switch on and use, and they can be the 12th man when we need them. I always felt that there'd be spells where we could get back against this team. So I was okay at that point, but I think it was when, I'm not going to go too far ahead, it was when they got the goal. That's when it was about how we reacted. That's when I got a bit more concerned.
I thought before that, Ev, and you discussed it, you started it, so I'll let you elaborate on it. After seeing that first 10 minutes, you're trying to think, how the F do we get a foothold in this game? Not even on a foothold, let's just get something in this game. Let's get the crowd on our side. We need to give them something. And obviously you're star man. And by the way, guys, I'm going to do a poll, and it's going to be hard. I think today's going to be one of the hardest polls to do. Shout me the names of man of the match to go in the poll. We've got, I don't know how many I can fit in a poll. I think it's 4. So it's going to have to be 4, I think. I can only put in a poll.
Virgil van Dijk.
But Ev, all right, stop trying to infiltrate the poll, like influence the poll, like, be fair. All right, because everyone, we know you're an influencer. Ev, you want to touch, you touched on Kwanzaa as a starting point. Totally get it, totally accept it. For me, the two guys on the right-hand side, obviously Kwanzaa plays on the right-hand side as well, but the two guys ahead of him, Connor Bradley and Harvey Elliott, Ev, I thought they were the starters of the mini storm or the foothold that we got back in the game. I thought Connor Bradley just decided to just become, I don't know how to describe him, an energizer bunny with Elliot as well. The energy, the pressing, and no shortage of footballing intelligence between the two of them. I thought they helped us get back into the game.
They absolutely did, because one of the things City was exploiting in that first 10 minutes was how high Bradley was pushing up to support, to help press, just to support in the general sense of the word. Harvey Elliott, if he misplaced a pass today, I must have fallen asleep and missed it, because he's just exquisite from moment one. We asked him to play right wing in the first half, incredible. We asked him to drop into midfield in the second half, incredible. We'll talk about it. But there's so much anxiety about that right-hand side, Grizz, because that right-hand side is Trentless, Konate-less, and Salah-less, of course. How could I forget the big one? And people saw that as perhaps where we would be physically ran over, or where City would seek to exploit. City had 10 minutes, I think, of successfully exploiting that space, like repeatedly, in something you could point to them doing consistently. And after that, Connor Bradley, whatever needed to be done between the midfield line when they were pressing versus when the fullbacks were pressing, whatever fix that was, worked a treat. Because from that point on, they just got absolutely no joy in Connor Bradley's side of the game, and he was still able to make his way forward and support when needed. The amount of times that Connor Bradley sent Bernardo Silva to the weight room in the first half was just brilliant. Like he just made him look. It was men versus boys stuff. Connor Bradley was playing what we call in the States here lockdown defense. Lockdown defense. It was really stunning. Something very, very beyond his years. And I've said it on here before. What a luxury it is to have guys like Bradley and Kwanzaa, just guys who we would now not feel, wildly anxious about throwing into a fixture like this. Sure, a bit of anxiety, but not wildly anxious, because last summer we didn't consider these guys options. People thought Bradley was going to be loaned out again. 60% of the fan base didn't know who Jarrell Kwanzaa was. Jarrell Kwanzaa was being managed by Joey Barton this time last year. You know what I mean? So we just did not know we were going to even get anything close to a song out of these guys. But lo and behold, we threw them into the biggest game of the season. And in that first half, they were largely rock solid.
Yo, what's good? Sends in the first super chat of the night. Thank you very much. Hope you're enjoying the show. He says, so glad Klopp didn't just rely on the long ball gimmick, because City ate that up first 15. I think one of you guys alluded to it, almost played like Andy Carroll. Our passing and temperament was City-esque. spot on what Evan alluded to in terms of how we got back in the game. And not many times we've played City and been able to play their game and come out on top. That is huge. Sabozalai left centre mid suits him, favourable angles. And of course, we've discussed that as well. Thank you very much for the super chat. 10 minutes of their foothold, Keith. 10 minutes of our foothold. They have a chance, I think, with Foden. Kind of a chance with Foden in the first 10 minutes. We have an offside goal ruled out. Oh, it could have been so much. It could have been so better. Nunes could have held that run because that would have been a lovely worked goal. And then Bradley flashes one across the road. The game's hotting up. Go on, you was going to say something.
That offside goal, and so following on from that super chat, it's so true. How many times have we ever watched Liverpool pass the ball through the midfield and cut City open to create chances? Like, rarely have I ever remembered a Liverpool game against City where we've cut them open through the middle. And I just have to give the props to McAllister and Endo, the McKendo partnership, once again.
You and your McKendo partnership is a thing. You need to trademark that.
I'm trademarking it the first thing Monday morning. That was exactly what happened, because if I remember it correctly, Endo wins the ball, and the first pass that he always makes forward is to McAllister. McAllister then turns forward, and then away they go. They did that so many times throughout the game. Between them two, they just have this almost telepathic partnership where it's not like, Endo, I'm going to win the ball and I'm going to turn around and play it back to my centre backs and let's rotate the ball and go up the park. I'm going to play it to the right or the left. It's like, I'm going to win the ball and I know McAllister is going to be there. And when I know McAllister is going to be there, he's one of the most intelligent football players in world football, and he helps to create that kind of that offside goal. So I just want to give a shout out to the chat. And I think with Szoboszlai coming into this now, finding his feet, he's a large man who's impressive in tight spaces. Make of that what you will. And he started, I felt like at times today, like it didn't quite go his way.
No, you're okay. No, you're okay. You're okay. You're okay.
No, go.
No, you carry on.
In the tone. Carry on.
Carry on.
Look at Cav's gone red.
No, you're okay. We've all gone red. You just can't see it. I think we've all gone red. But anyway, carry on.
What I was going to say is that basically now with Szoboszlai, it's basically now we've got midfielders who can play in tight space. You can play 1-2 with the ball and go forward without having to necessarily turn around and not be comfortable with the ball to their feet. So I thought that was that was when we started to see Liverpool kind of grow into the game. They started to find their timing. Their pressing was less aggressive, if you will. They slightly set off a little bit, but at the same time, they started to find their timing a lot more. And I felt that's when we started coming back into the game, is once McAllister and Endo really started to find their feet in that midfield. And that is one of the first times, honestly, like I've ever seen a midfield with Rodri, Kevin De Bruyne, who in my opinion, other than obviously the assist and a few other things, was largely anonymous, particularly the second half. I've never seen a midfield City us go like machine for machine against that midfield. It's usually Kevin De Bruyne is injured or Rodri's injured or back in the day Fernandinho.
Well, like Kevin said, we try to use can we stop them? Can our machines stop their fluidity, their passing, etc., etc.? Yeah.
Exactly, spot on, and not just win the ball from them, but play past them. Not have to rely on Trent and Robertson like we did then. So yeah, that's what I started to see. That's when I started to get a bit more okay. Endo's got confidence now. McAllister's got confidence now. Now they let the first 10-15 minutes ride. Now they're feeling themselves, and now they're playing like they did against Prague on Thursday, for example. Exactly the same type of football. So yeah. Big shout out to that midfield, man. I'm so obsessed with it. McKendo, the evolution. I'm telling you, it's an evolution, man. We're witnessing a revolution of Liverpool with those two as partners. And it's, as I've said many times, it's bringing out the best. It brought out the best of Gravenberch against Brentford. It's been bringing out the best of Harvey Elliott against Sparta Prague. He was amazing. It's going to bring out the best in Szoboszlai as well. Them two really do the dog work, but also are very, very clever players with the ball at their feet. And for me, this has been the big surprise for me. And it's probably been one of the biggest reasons why we've been able to continue our momentum as we have done, as being, in my opinion, one of the best teams in European football in 2024.
Who'd have thought that, Keith, when you signed Endo, that you'd be saying that against Manchester City in probably the biggest game of the season, and this guy's went from strength to strength. I think that says it all on the signing. I don't think anyone.
Conroy, not only that, guys, and I tweeted it at the end of the game. I said March 2024, and we've just gone we're a point ahead of Man City with 10 games to go, and we've just bopped them off the park with Kelleher in goal, Kwanzaa, Bradley, Elliott, and Endo in this team. I mean, if we had said that at the start of the season, we would have said FSG out. What the fuck? Did we not invest in our team? Oh my God, injured players. We didn't buy enough. Like if someone just fell off, like from outer space, and just said, "Yeah, that's your team," lining up against a full strength Man City, a full squad, Grealish aside, but
You'd be like, "Good luck, good luck." That's what you'd be like.
I don't even know. Good luck. We'd get sworn and cursed at. Cavstar, we have a very good spell. And then we make an error in terms of where Virgil van Dijk even shouts, talk, communicate. Just a little bit of inexperience and a little lack of communication. They force a corner. We're rushed into giving them a corner. And then they score off the training ground. Not a lot you can do in that situation because they just caught us off guard. Some people claiming that McAllister was blocked. He was, but that's allowed because he's not in an offside position. Was you aggrieved, or was it just, they caught us there?
Yeah, well, I thought at this point in time that Liverpool started to find their feet in the game. And just prior to the corner, there's a ball that's put into the box where Virgil's running back towards his own goal, and he just somehow manages to head it away, lift it above the bar because Haaland's lurking right behind him. If he doesn't get that right, it's an own goal or Haaland taps it in. And Virgil turns around and screams at the guys to communicate, as you said. But this was a point in the game where Liverpool started winning duels. They started to get into Man City's face. You know, Man City was having the freedom of the pitch to knock the ball around and find people between the lines and create at will, really. And the only thing they were doing was struggling to get the ball to Haaland as such, you know, in the box. They were having chances, but De Bruyne kind of going to a crossing position, blazes one over the bar, you know, one comes in shots to hit him bodies and what have you. So no real clear chances on goal, but getting in great positions. And we started to sort of get a foothold and play it around. And you thought, okay, this is the change now. This is where Liverpool are going to start playing, because we know in these games, one team dominates for a short time, then it switches. And you think, okay, this is Liverpool's period. And then the goal comes, you know, and completely caught me off guard. I'm not sure about you guys. I just did not expect it at all. I was kind of looking at their team. I was looking at the height that they've got. I was looking at who was picking up who. And then just the way the camera was, I couldn't work out if it was side netting in the goal or what. And I was just, the only reason I realized it was a goal was because of the Man City players' reaction. But it's brilliantly worked. It's off the training ground. You know, they've clearly looked at how Liverpool's set up. They clearly see that we cover the front post, but with a guy that's quite small and probably, so it feels a bit harsh to say he's not strong because he is, but, you know, can be moved off the ball in McAllister if you like. And it was a clear ploy for Ake to move McAllister out the way, make that opening and just put it in there. And I'm not too sure. It's brilliantly worked, don't get me wrong. It's off the training ground. I'm not too sure whether we should be really critical here, actually, of Liverpool. That seems a little bit schoolboy, you know, to be able to not cover your front post and allow that ball to come into the box like that. I'm not sure if I'm being critical or not, but it just feels too easy. And perhaps because the game's so complicated that we've missed the simplicity of just covering the front post. I'm not too sure, but the ball is brilliant. You know, it's low, it's direct, it has a curl on it, and it goes straight into Stones' feet. So credit to Man City for managing to exploit it. And then the controversy comes about is Ake obstructing McAllister? Would McAllister have got there? Does that mean he would have been offside? And all these kind of things that we experienced ourselves with the disallowed goal with Virgil. I'm not too sure, to be honest with you. Again, I think it's guessing to think if McAllister would have got there. I think he just needs to be stronger. He needs to cover that front post better. And I would just summarize it as giving Man City credit where credit's due and creating that opening, to be honest with you.
The worst team to go behind, Conroy. Especially when they're in the groove. So it seemingly looked that they were in the groove in that opening half. They knew what they had to come and do. And that's the first time, guys, that they've taken the lead at Anfield under Pep with crowd in
Wow.
there. So it was a setback. We're not used to going behind to these guys. And as I said, we got back in the game, and then that happens, and then obviously we have, as always, a bit of a time to gather our thoughts. But I thought we played so good without. I don't think, guys, help me out here. Maybe any clear-cut chances? Oh, Szoboszlai has a header, which he should do really better.
Oh, yes.
Oh, looks like Keith wants in on
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah, I like
But-
Keith
but-
do that.
Yeah, sorry.
But again, Harvey Elliott. I mean, how many times have we seen him do that play?
Can I just add one thing here before Keith says this? Because I have to say this, and I don't want to bring it up at the end because we're going to speak about other things. But I'm starting to get. I shouldn't even be annoyed. I'm Scottish, right? I don't really care about the English national team. But how is it that Manu has a couple of games for Man United, 18 years old, and saying should he be in the Euro squad? But Harvey Elliott has been pretty fantastic all season. No mention. Curtis Jones, pretty fantastic. No mention. So if that just tells you the hypocrisy that exists in the media, then I don't know what else will. I just wanted to add that because Elliott, as Evan said as well, we'd had a conversation, Evan, earlier in the year about the impact coming on, but he's even starting games now and having an impact from the actual off now. So I don't know why that's not a conversation. The kid's been outstanding. If you ask rival fans, he's competing for every starting place in this team. I just think it's, for someone who's not got a horse in the race, I think it's
no
crazy.
problem. Keep him away.
Yeah,
Keep him away.
I agree. I just
Keep him
wanted
away.
to
It is
mention-
bollocks. Oh,
It's
you're
mad,
spot on.
mad.
You're absolutely spot on. The narrative around other youngsters like Kobe Minu, who's a fantastic player, but ignoring the fact that Harvey Jones, Curtis Jones and Harvey Elliott, there's another Makendo possible brand there. But both of these guys are playing out of their skin and for a team that's competing for everything on top of the table, but whatever. If they don't want to be playing for England, no problem at all. But that's Szoboszlai chance because he's got to do better, right, Keith? That is a chance. And then we have also, let's get in. I guess we're going to get into it in the second half more, but Luis Diaz, seemingly on the peripheral in the first half, not much involvement until the last 10, 15 minutes where he gets a shot off and then he has a couple of runs at Walker and the right-sided centre-back, possibly, and then a couple of, skirmishes in and around the box. It was building up for him, wasn't it? He was getting more and more into the game. Elliott and Diaz and Nunes as a three obviously haven't played much together, but they were trying to create situations more and more as the game ended. The first half ended.
Sorry for the lack of continuity. Let's go back to Evan.
Okay.
My reaction just said it. I don't have any words for that Szoboszlai chance. He should have done better. It was a free header. He's a big lad, and he should have put the ball, at least hit the target. But I'll pass back to Evan.
We won't go into the second half of Diaz then, Conroy. But you could see some moves being created, the understanding slowly forming. Szoboszlai joining in as the second man runs, Makendo forming a pivot. You could see a shape that was forming, Bradley overlapping. And that was the game plan, obviously, moving forward as well.
Yeah, and I think you've seen after City scored as well, they tried to, I don't know if it was intentional, it's probably, as Evan mentioned earlier, and Cav, because they scored kind of against the run of play, kind of, like I'm not severely against it, was kind of a bit, both teams at that point. I felt like we were in the groove already. We continued that. So I know the commentary was saying they went in a defensive shape to play counter-attack. I don't know if that was intentional or it was just they felt like they couldn't really get their game going. And we were picking up spaces. And I think if you talk about the Diaz chance just before half-time, where he gets in that little point, maybe say number 10 position, where him and Szoboszlai had the ball at times, but they weren't firing. And that was very frustrating. I was like, especially with Szoboszlai, this is a guy who's got absolute wand of a right foot. So I was nice to see that when Diaz got that chance, he just fired the trigger and it just went past the post. But it was a sign of things to come. He was getting involved. And I think we're going to discuss it, especially myself and Keith in the second half. But you could tell that it was coming together and you were confident that we could hurt this Man City team in the second half.
I just want to point out that having the field in front of Harvey Elliott has always been his game. And that's why I've been a big advocate of him being a midfielder. If Klopp thinks he's a midfielder, then he is a midfielder. He's played 90% of his Liverpool minutes as a midfielder. In his first one of the first times he ever played in the senior team. I think it might have been the first time we had an away Carabao Cup fixture, FA Cup fixture against Derby or something, I want to say. And from a similar position, maybe even further, deeper into the midfield channel, he pinged one just on a line drive to Milner. And Milner on the volley, I think, hit the bar or squandered the chance or something. And in that moment, that was all I needed to know to think that this is a guy who needs to see the pitch happening in front of him. He's that type of half winger, half midfielder. The Italians call it the mezzala, I think. And he's that type of player. So I feel good when Harvey Elliott has the pitch happening in front of him. I believe that's his type of game. Like, as I've already touched upon, we're going to get into the second half later, so I'll park it for now. But we asked him to play 2 different roles today, and the heat map sort of backs up what I'm saying. That sort of reddish stripe where he's most present, that's where I want football happening for Harvey Elliott the most. If Harvey Elliott gets into the box and gets to the byline like a winger, cool. I've seen him produce great moments from there as well. But in that half space, sort of lurking between the 18-yard box and the center circle in the right-hand channel, that is where Harvey Elliott does most of his cooking. And boy, did he do quite a bit tonight. I thought he was just extraordinary.
I think he was extraordinary as well. And it was very poignant, I thought, Evan, and the rest of you guys, that he was sharing the pitch with Bernardo Silva, who obviously is probably one of the great midfield players of recent times, if not ever. Whatever. That's another debate. But it was amazing.
Can I add to that point, Grizz? I think one thing that really excited me, and I'm sure equally with a lot of Liverpool fans, was we've gone into this game against Man City with a midfield that can probably match up theirs. And I think it's been a long time since we've had that, if ever. You know, we've got incredible forwards and defenses we usually have in these matchups, but to have a midfield that you can look at and go, them players could go into the Man City team as well, you know, and that's subjective, I know, but I genuinely think McAllister is a world-class midfielder and he would walk into that Man City team, I believe. But in that first half, during this period that we're discussing, what happened was that we were taking the ball off of the likes of Bernardo Silva. And I haven't seen that before. You know, usually this guy is so press resistant, and I'm sure we can all cast our minds back to the clip where he dribbles past 4 or 5 players, people are tripping over and bodies are sort of becoming fluid and all over the place. But in today's game, in that first half, where it changed for me was we were getting more and more aggressive and taking the ball off of him, taking the ball off of Kevin De Bruyne, and then able to play. And that psychological shift must have been huge, because not only does that give confidence to our players that, you know, these guys ain't going to come and play their football and take it off you and coast by you. Actually, you can take it off them and play your football. And Man City looking at that as well, thinking, oh boy, we're being matched up in the centre here. And I think that's, I'm not sure whether they purposely sat back after the goal and thought they could play on the counter or what. But I think there was a little bit of a blow to the ribs when the likes of Bernardo Silva is being dispossessed by Szoboszlai and Luis Diaz is getting back scrapping and coming away with the ball. It's a reminder that this team is up for the fight. And I think that's where we were able to gain some confidence. And, you know, confidence just leads to us playing good football ultimately. So I think in the first half, it was key that we started to win them battles, which they were able to do.
I think you're spot on. I've been so frustrated with the power and the strength of Man City's midfield up against us. Not only midfield, but pretty much all over the pitch in recent times, especially at the Etihad, where I feel as though we're being overrun and overpowered and they win their 50-50s. Guys, I had a beaming smile throughout that second half. Halftime, we're going to skip halftime. In fact, we're going to shout out our channel sponsors. Guys, go and check out yourfutcard.com. If you need some banners made, and I'm sure there is many a Jurgen Klopp banner or print that you want printed, go to check them out, yourfutcard.com. My website's not working right now. I can't share the screen, unfortunately, but you go and check out, type in www.yourfutcard.com. Go in there, choose what you want, whole range of banners, prints, FUT cards if you want them, like the ones I have up there. Get your own ones made, get one for your wife, your mum, your father, whoever you want. Type in Red Fellas and you get 15% off as well. You help them, they help us. Everyone's a winner, baby. They are actually bringing out a magnificent Jurgen Klopp print. I will have that for you. I will show you guys next week how it looks. It's stunning, and it's something that everyone should have because Jurgen Klopp. That's it. Really simple. Really.
Chris, if I may, before we move on to the second
Yes,
half,
sir.
I'll give this one to you. Right, 39th minute, Liverpool corner. Ball breaks out to I'm not sure who it was, but Kwanzaa goes in for a challenge. Ball's rolled between his legs, and it's Haaland versus Virgil 1-on-1 for half a pitch, and obviously shot goes away and it's saved by Keller. But what was your thoughts when you seen that duel? Because as it was happening, you were like, "Oh, this is it. This is the image. This is the two big dogs. This is like what's happening here. This is a matchup. This is two heavyweights." What was your thoughts?
I was loving Virgil van Dijk's and Kwanzaa's performance. Anyway, by then we had totally dominated him. But then this is the first time where he actually gets a chance to turn. No bouncing off defenders or centre backs. He's got space. It's just him and it's just Virgil, and then it's just the keeper himself. And you know, he must have. So forwards, this is a routine drill that they do 20 times a week, 20 to 50 times a week. This is a drill that they do where you turn, you play a one-on-one against the centre back, your own teammate. None of his teammates would probably be able to stop him. He's probably used to brushing aside Jones, Akanji, and Stones, and all these guys, but this time he faced the original big dog, slightly aging, slightly slower, slightly not as quick as he used to be. But you don't lose this up here. He tries to go right, he tries to go left. Virgil shows him the left side, his stronger side, and he says, "Go on." And he actually, in my opinion, and you guys give yours as well if you want to, I think I think Virgil van Dijk actually makes him shoot earlier than he would have against many other centre-back. Like many other centre-back, I think he has the power and the pace and the confidence to take it another stride forward where he would make the strike a bit more, what's the word they use these days, Ev? Expectancy goal, you know, the expectancy of a goal would have been higher. Do you get what I mean?
Oh yeah. I'm gonna tag along. I think Erling Haaland did everything right, and it still wasn't enough. Because Erling Haaland, to his credit, he made half a yard on Van Dijk.
Yeah.
In those situations, how many times has Virgil van Dijk even offered someone a quarter of a yard?
Yep.
Not often. Erling Haaland, to his credit, because he is also a physical freak, made a half a yard for a shot, albeit an off-balance one, albeit one further from the goal than he would have liked. But Haaland, I think, did better than most attackers in that situation. We've all seen the clip of Virgil chasing down Mbappe once or twice. Mbappe doesn't get a shot off either time because Virgil forces him into a mistake. He forces him to take a crap touch. Then Virgil's like, "That's mine. Thank you very much." Haaland does not take a bad touch. Haaland gets a half a yard on his stronger foot, off balance and away from the goal, as we've already said. But yeah, I think that's got to be one of the more frustrating things in the game as a striker, Erling Haaland, knowing he is the world's premier number 9, knowing that he has played that situation is about as good as you can possibly play it, and still all he gets is a quarter chance. I wouldn't even call that a half chance. He gets a quarter chance out of it, and that's got to be kind of discouraging.
But one thing I'll say in terms of like why Van Dijk is one of the greatest of all time, because
that's aura, baby. You know when people take the piss, that's aura.
That's aura. That's greatness. Because you got to think about it. Like 99% of human beings who played even at a professional level, right, even probably at Premier League level, would have seen that Haaland was the one that's about to get the ball and try to clamp him and stop him before you jockey back. That jockeying back, Virgil van Dijk jockeying back and saying, "All right, Haaland, let's go. Let's have this duel. Let's go all the way back. Let's go." Most defenders would have tried to make a tackle as early as possible, right? To not have to go through that hell that is going to be Erling Haaland 1v1. And the fact that Virgil van Dijk is able to kind of jockey, and then make the decision right at the last second. That is why we keep telling everybody that he is the greatest of all time, because Virgil van Dijk can do the Vidic smash the guy, you know, before he gets the ball. But what he can also do, he can do the Maldinis. That's that kind of more the jockey. Let them come, and make the decision at the right time. And that moment there could define Virgil van Dijk and me. For me at this moment in time, you know, there was this whole big thing about Phil Foden. Is he the best player in the Premier League because he had a good game against Manchester City? That's what the best player in the Premier League does.
Can I just add to that as well?
Yeah, of course you can. Feel free. Everyone has to speak on Virgil.
We'll see how quickly assesses and analyses the situation. Now, it's not like, you know, every part of his game. Some of it will be autopilot, but in those moments, knowing who's against, how to approach it. I think if you look at Haaland against, was it De Ligt last year for Bayern Munich, or Sule in the quarter-final, gets a similar situation, pulls to his left, beats him, then hits it by the goalkeeper top corner. No, it's not exactly the same, but it's probably quite similar. He picks the ball up one-on-one with a defender. I think just how he's able to analyse situations so quickly and put the kind of, when it's the opportunity on the player, I can't remember it, but he's said to Haaland, I'll give you half a yard here, can you make that, or a quarter chance, as Evan said, because he's backing himself to play the odds in that situation. And I just think he's so quick to analyse in situations. You saw it, I think another one I always remember was Sissoko against Spurs when he said, no, I'll put you on your left foot because I think the odds in you scoring from that angle against, it was Allister at the time, and he skies over the bar. I just think he's so good at like assessing situations so quickly. And I agree with Keith. I mean, it's going to be a conversation when he finishes his career, but I just think what you're seeing isn't Liverpool fans, you know, over exaggerating everything. This guy is just different. And in those situations, I just think his football IQ is on a different level. And especially as he's getting older, people think that's it. You know, 7 years in the Premier League, and we keep hearing these conversations, you know, this player had more longevity. The guy's still playing, and he should win Player of the Year this season, or he's definitely going to be in the top 3. But apparently his career's finished. It's just nonsense, and I just think it's a pleasure to watch him every week. But I think his football IQ is something that doesn't get spoke about enough for me. I just think, you saw that against one of the best finishers in the world today. So just thought I'd add that.
It's key. The key part in that play for me is point of engagement, right? So you almost have half the pitch to run at. At what point are you going to engage with this striker? So you jockey him and you wait for a bad touch. Is it loose? Can I win it? But I think more key is that you make sure you don't engage too early, that if you get beat, it's a one-on-one with your keeper. Engage in the point in which if you get beat, the keeper's immediately on it, or the keeper's making a save. Because if Virgil engages 10 yards further up, Haaland goes by him, and then he's one-on-one with Kelleher and he goes by him. You know, so it's getting to the point, usually at the edge of the 18-yard box, whereby if you're going to engage now and you miss out, you've given your keeper the best opportunity to rectify something, whether he jumps out and collects the ball, or whether it's the angles type, whatever it is. But going early is quite often what defenders will do, as Keith said, and that's quite often the mistake they'll make, because then if they don't get it right, the striker's bearing down on goal with time, and the best strikers in the world with time will just destroy you. Like you said, Chris, they'll work on these things every day. So that braveness to jockey, and Haaland tried to go left, he tried to go right, and he stayed with him. We've seen defenders slip over when Haaland's done that to him, and it's clipped. It's all over social media.
Aura. Haaland has got the reverse aura of Van Dijk on most centre-backs in Europe.
Yeah.
Do you get it? Mbappe has that aura, and Haaland has that aura where opposition, whoever they're up against, we saw it against Brentford where the guy slips, he panics.
Yes,
fuck. This is I keep calling him Alfinger Haaland. This is Haaland, and he's gonna, and they panic. As you said, Cav, he took him right, he took him left. Virgil said, "I'm still here." Boo. I'm still here. You're not getting rid of me.
I still think Virgil might watch the film of that and be a little disappointed in himself.
Yeah, true. Because you'd expect to come away with the ball. Yeah, that's Virgil.
You know, as I've said, how many can people remember that exact situation with another striker where they even get half a yard? I think Virgil might be like, okay, I forced him to take maybe a bad shot, quote unquote bad shot, but I think he might walk away from the film thinking he could have done better.
Agreed, but that I put that down to the natural aging of Virgil. I don't put that down to sort of his reading of the situation and the way he played it. Haaland is in the prime of his career.
Haaland's
Whereas-
Haaland's a generational player. Like
Right.
we need to give him some credit as well.
He's a
If someone was,
physical, and especially from a physical point of view, he's a specimen of a different
yeah, he's
kind.
his equal.
So there's no
Yeah.
shame in getting a yard on a 32-year-old Virgil now, or whatever he is. There's no shame
No-
in that from Virgil's point of view.
No shame whatsoever. I'm just saying I know Virgil's standards, and I think
Yeah,
he'll watch
100%.
the film. I think he'll watch the film and point to where he thinks he might have made a mistake. But yeah,
I
it's beside
I
the
seem
point.
to have missed this super chat. Jay Finn sent in a super chat. So thank you. He says, I blame Mac for the goal. He should have never let Akiman handle him. Elliot was really good. Diaz had Walker on toast, but how he didn't score a goal. I guess second half is the Luis Diaz versus Man City show. Pretty much. I was smiling though, as you guys were saying. We were winning duels all around the pitch. And I want to share something with you guys, and I want to share something with everyone. And I want everyone to tell me, who is this? Where is it gone? Who? Oh, whoops. Hold on, guys. Anticipation.
Suspense
It's
is
killing
building.
me.
Drum roll,
It's killing me.
please.
I'll have to come back to it. But while I find it, I've lost it. While I find it, Conroy, second half was total opposite of first half, I believe. We just didn't. It was like Liverpool kicking towards the cop, even though we weren't kicking towards the cop. They tried to change, won the mentality, won the mind games battle. Well, Carl Walker thought, oh, we'll make them attack the cop in the first half, and second half it'll be calmer. Fuck off, mate. Because you got that wrong. We didn't make that calmer. We were like Pep Guardiola described as it the tsunami. He said there was 20 minutes where it's like the tsunami at Anfield. You just can't control it. Did you have that? Come on, it's a matter of time type feeling.
Yeah, well, you want to continue the form, be a bit more cutting edge. We've done quite well first half, but as we said, players got in good positions, but we were lacking a little bit of cutting edge. You know, the cohesion wasn't exactly there in the final third because we're getting to really good positions, just that final pass. But it's funny you say that because that's management for you. Imagine Pep Guardiola in the changing room saying, listen, lads, second half, nothing silly, right? Let's just keep the ball. And literally a minute into it, Ake does that back pass. Football management for you, honestly. But I still think we would have came strong because the way we've been playing, the way we were controlling it, definitely. But that is like, I don't think you can ask for a better start to the second half than that. So yeah. I was confident we could do it. My only really concern was it just how City came out, if they felt that they could maybe start strong in that second half like they did in the first half, but it didn't work out like that. And our players, on top of the penalty, I did feel like our decision-making was definitely better in the final ball in the second half, and we're going to speak about certain chances, but inevitably we get the penalty straight away, which, to be honest, I was watching it on my PC, guys, so like I had to switch it on and off again. So as I'm switching it back on, I just see the replay of the challenge with Núñez and Ederson, like literally 46 minutes. So I was buzzing when I had the PC back on.
Well, there we go. 1-1 straight after half time. Bang, we're in it. I'm buzzing now. The hat's been thrown into the air. I'm jumping all over, mates. We're high-fiving each other. We're singing the songs at home. We're causing anarchy or in our house. We've kicked the wives out, the children out. And we're just like 6-7 grown men shouting at the top of our heads like we're at Anfield. We couldn't get a ticket, but who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck? We're going to make our house Anfield. It was rocking, Evan. At that stage, it was absolutely rocking. We were playing football. They were down. Ederson was trying to play mind games, pretend he's injured. No, actually, he was injured. McAllister cool as a cucumber, doing kick-ups while the drama around him. Did you have any panic? McAllister was going to take it and that he was going to not score.
Well, I knew McAllister was going to take it, and I wouldn't have picked anybody else to take it. At first, like you, I thought Ederson was playing mind games. Turns out he was actually hurt, which I think could end up being a talking point in the title race if their first choice goalkeeper might have picked up something on the scale of what Alisson's dealing with. It had me wondering, and I'll pose this sort of academic question to the rest of you. Is it really, like, if Ederson actually is playing mind games, let's assume he was and he wasn't actually hurt and he's just strictly doing the mind game thing. are you actually increasing or decreasing the penalty taker's chances of conversion by allowing all that time to pass? Because in my head, if I'm McAllister, I'm running up and down the pitch all fucking day long. I'm thinking maybe people miss penalties because their heart's beating too fast, their heart rate's too high, they're still breathing too hard and not getting enough oxygen to the brain. You're letting a guy who's already known for his composure in all phases of the sport time to compose himself even more. You know what I mean? Like it had me thinking, and just give me a quick answer, guys. Do you think it's a good form of gamesmanship, or do you think it achieves the opposite effect?
I think it's not necessarily for the penalty. I think it's for the decision. He should have been sent off. Edison should have been sent off.
No, I disagree completely.
You can't be
I'm
sent off
sorry.
if it's dogso, so it's double jeopardy. So
Well, here
That's the
I
rule.
was at
yeah,
the guy I was watching the game with asked me, "Do you think he should have been sent off?" I'm thinking even pre-double jeopardy era, he's not being sent off because Ederson is confronting Darwin at the edge of the box, the edge of the side of the box. Darwin's touch is going away from goal. I think even pre-double jeopardy era, that's a yellow card. At
No,
most.
I don't think it's a red card, Keith, as well. But to the point that Evan makes, and it's something to think about. And yeah, it's a great question and a point. But I guess it would come down to the temperament of the penalty taker in the first place. What kind of player is he? Where does he play? I know that might sound so simplistic, but where does he play on the pitch? What is his playing style like? And you're right, in this scenario, Alexis McAllister would love some time to just contemplate and think. And he's really cool, he's really calm, and he's just doing kick-ups. That's personified. As opposed to, I don't want to single him out because we're going to go on to talk about him, but Luis Diaz, in that situation, you see yourself or imagine himself working himself in a shit show in his head. Mm-hmm. Oh shit, what am I going to do? Like, that's his finishing, that's his playing style. So I think it would depend on the playing style, on the and the mentality of the player. I don't know what you guys think, but it's interesting. If you delay it for certain players, it will help them calm down even more.
Yeah, I think Evan's point is, I think because McAllister's so composed, and McAllister's not even got a Di Maria or a Messi technique. Well, Messi kind of mixes it up, but even if you watch Di Maria for Benfica during the week, like you watch the keeper, McAllister usually will aim for the stanchion and just it's going that way. So it doesn't really matter if the keeper goes the right way. Exactly what you saw. Ederson couldn't probably have done more. It's in the corner.
Yeah,
because he's like that. Close. It probably helps that he doesn't really care. When he's calm, he knows exactly. It's just like a robotic movement. He's hitting it in the same place. A bit like Kane, to be honest. Similar sorts of penalty kicks. I mean, I remember the one McAllister for Brighton last year against Manchester United in the last minute. And that may be like one of the best penalties I've ever seen. And that is the top stanchion. So I think when it comes to penalty kick takers like that, who are very composed, I'm confident. And I'm happy, as Evan said, the Chelsea Anfield game got all the talks and Nunez being on penalties completely out of Klopp's mind ever again, because he's not a penalty kick taker. I think 50% of us watching that game on our group chat thought he was going to miss that penalty, and he did. And McAllister,
worth pointing out, Nunez had never missed a penalty in professional football before Liverpool.
That's fair enough, mate. I just think there's certain characters in football, and because you're a goal scorer doesn't mean you should take penalties. And I just think McAllister. Listen, I get what you're saying, Evan, and to be fair, sometimes we do go too heavy on that with Nunez because he's actually got a lot of stats in his favour. I just think McAllister, like pressure moments, he does it a lot, and I just think he's so composed in those situations that, on to Evan's original question, I think with someone like that, it probably makes him even more calmer because he's just going to repeat what he does. He's not going to change it. You know, like if Fernandes is watching the keeper, it's maybe a bit about, mind games, whereas he's just like, I'm putting it in that corner and you're not saving it.
Klopp's body language, by the way. One thing I said,
he watched it.
Has said it all for me, and he watched it. Like Klopp has never watched a penalty.
I noticed that too. I remember thinking, I'm like, damn, he knew that shit was going in.
Do you know what I love? Yeah, what I was going to say, and it was pointed out in the chats. Fair play. Even though a lot of time was taken over the Edison injury, I love McAllister's technique. He still takes his breath, but he still takes a bit of time before running up and hit the ball. It's not as if put it down, step back, go hit it. He delays. And what that says to the keeper is, I'm in charge. I know where I'm putting this ball. I'm in charge of this situation. I'm going to hit it. It's up to you to respond to what I do and guess right. And I like that he doesn't rush anything. He's in full control of what he's doing. Now, his success rate is good, but I personally, as a fan watching it, have so much belief because of his technique, because of his calmness, because of his run-up, because of that delay in taking it, that he'll put them away. And for me, moving forward now, even if Salah's on the pitch, I still want McAllister to take the penalties.
This is the last I'll say on it, because I think you make a great point, Cav, and this kind of goes to it. For those of you who don't know what ice the kicker means in NFL, it essentially means right before the kicker's about to attempt an extra point or a field goal in the NFL, the opposing team's coach will call a timeout right before he's about to take it as like a mind game sort of thing. It's called icing the kicker. And I don't believe there's actually any statistical correlation because the kickers are just too good in the same way that Alexis McAllister is just too composed and he's just too good. But it's weird how people will always try to do the marginal gamesmanship, even when there's no like statistical correlation to it working.
Ice the kicker. I love that phrase.
We should start integrating more American terminology.
Yeah, less English cricket phrases for Evan, and
it would make me feel more included. I would open up a little bit more. You know what I mean? It's
you
just
need opening up. Like you really need opening up. Fuck. But
can we just? I don't think we should overlook the fact that Núñez won that penalty, and he was being caught offside throughout the entire first half. But this guy, right, without opening up the Núñez conversation, because we could do another hour on it, for all the criticism this season and all the plaudits Haaland gets, right, two players that come into this game in good form, in goal scoring form, you know.
Who was the one who was a threat?
That was my question. Who was the guy that was doing stuff today? You know, let the praise be as loud as the criticism's been, because he was a constant threat and he was the guy that wins the penalty for his sharpness, his pace, and he recognized that if as long as he gets the touch, he'll win the penalty. So fair play, Darwin Núñez, for actually getting us back into that game.
Go on, Ev. We've got to move on.
Okay, yeah. The only thing I'll say on the pen is I think it's so funny how the old school pundits skepticism in playing out from the back is so misplaced, because when you think about it, when you're kicking it around the back, the most detrimental mistakes occur is when they're actually passing it back towards their own goal and it's an undercooked pass. It's rarely when they're passing it out from the back that these heinous mistakes in your own half occur. I just thought that was funny.
Guys, just a very quick reminder, we are under 20 away from 300 likes. Madness. Over 600 of you guys in here. Really appreciate the love and support as always. I have done a poll in the chat, in the YouTube chat. Vote. It's an interesting set of results so far. I found what I wanted to share, hopefully. If I haven't, I'm so shit. Yes. Who's the player?
Can we guess? Is it open platform?
I'd say let the chat have a couple of guesses. I think you guys will work this out. Who is this player? It could be on either side, actually.
Ooh, I like these games. Can we do this more often?
Who is this player? I don't want to give too many stats away because I'm just giving it to that. So he didn't get any goals.
Is the heat map of him going this way, or does it contain both halves in the heat map? Is my question.
Only the nerd would ask that kind of question, and you being the channel nerd happens to ask that question. I mean, go on. I'm going to ask you one by one. Conroy, who is that?
Do you know what? I'm not sure. I was going to say either Endo or Gomez. Just
you have
because
to pick one.
I would say Endo, but I'll go for Endo.
Evan, who is that?
Endo or Gomez? I don't know. The channel nerd is struggling here.
Choose one.
It's Endo, I guess. I'll go.
Keith, who is that?
I'll go McAllister.
Cav, who's that?
I think it's Endo.
That's Endo. We bought a player in the summer. Deadline day, guys? Deadline day, wasn't it? Was it? No. Sorry.
No, I don't think so.
No. Sorry, it wasn't
He
deadline
wasn't
day.
in the season.
Gravenberch was like one of the last buy, wasn't it? But he was one of the guys. We made bids of over 100 million for players, 70 million bids for players, 80 million bids for players, 60 million pound bid for players. For whatever reason, they didn't come. We didn't get them. Whatever the reasons were, we ended up getting this guy. Jurgen Klopp meets him at the ground and says, "My God, I'm so happy to have you here. Take off your clothes. Pause. You know what I mean? Like, get ready, get changed."
Whoa.
Yeah. It's Keith, man.
And Keith, I saw Keith doing this. He didn't hesitate.
I was ready.
Keith's earlier statement about big guy and all that space. Yeah. Anyway, Fruity Keith is turned to Grizzly Grizz. But listen, he said to him, "Get ready, son, because we're gonna need you. I have a very young, attacking, vibrant team, but I need your energy. I need your defensive awareness. I need your game intelligence. I need all of that." Today, guys, he shared a pitch with some of the all-time greats, in my humble opinion, of the Premier League. Kevin De Bruyne, Rodri, and the aforementioned Bernardo Silva. You could put in that conversation if you wanted to, but Kevin De Bruyne and Rodri absolutely go in the Hall of Fame of centre midfielders of the Premier League era. And for me, there was one guy who came out, not one guy, there was a couple of guys on our side, but I wanted to just focus on a couple of minutes on this guy, Wataru Endo. I don't know, I should have told you guys if you want to speak on him in the agenda. I haven't, so it's off the cuff. Maybe I've caught you unawares, but please feel free to, it's not aimed at anyone. Whoever wants to go. The floor is open. Wataru Endo.
Endo, I'm sorry. If you're watching, I'm sorry. I consider myself a student of the game. I consider myself this amateur data scout, and I had no idea that you were one of the best midfielders in the world just hanging out at Stuttgart. I had no idea. I had no idea who we were getting. I had no idea who you were. I was not familiar with your game, as Shaquille O'Neal would say. But now I am more than familiar with your game. You have left a significant impression on the fan base of one of the biggest clubs in world football, and you can punch with the big boys, walk all over the big boys, as tonight has shown us. So you're an absolute warrior, my friend, and I'm sorry for not knowing you.
I think it was quite
whoever's
interesting.
next, while I bring up something, whoever's next, carry on.
I just thought it was interesting. I always remember when we went into the Arsenal game, and I was having a conversation with someone. I was like, I was like, Wataru Endo, we could have really done with him in this game. And everyone was like, what do you mean Endo, blah, blah, blah. That's not the reason why you lost. I was like, this guy was just player of the month, right, for our team. And then we had to ship him out he went out to the Asia Cup to compete. Ever since he's come back, he has been a transformative figure in that midfield. We've been on here decrying sixes. I mean, you could probably put together a 2-hour reel of Khanage TV over the years of us talking about we need a 6 and this is what a 6 needs to look like. It needs to be a destroyer. Grizz, I remember you even saying, I don't want no diminutive number 6s. I want a guy who's going to come and destroy. I was like, Declan Rice, it's got to be Declan Rice. It has to be Declan Rice. Pay £100 million for him. Do it immediately. Evan even had Ugarte. He was his guy. That was the guy that was going to come in and
all of us had our own guys.
Agendas. We all had our agendas, and this Endo's just popped up out of nowhere, and there was a moment which defined Endo, in my opinion, which was if you go back and look at the Luis Diaz chance in the first half, right? One of the things that he did in which he stopped is, how everybody's been for weeks going, wow, John Stones' new position. He plays in like this midfield thing, and it's like the greatest thing in the world. Endo shut that down today. John Stones was nowhere in that midfield. Anytime John Stones got that ball, Endo clamped him. And in that situation, Endo clamped him. And and what he does is, again, clamped him, and then he plays a forward pass to McAllister. McAllister plays the ball to Diaz. All of a sudden, it's a goal. What Endo is doing is basically what we've always relied on Trent to do. Is when we're looking for those quick transitions, we're looking for that pass by Trent to take us from defense to attack. But now we've got defense versus attack in the middle, and it always starts with Endo. I don't know how he does it sometimes, but his timing, he doesn't need to be the quickest guy because he's never chasing man, because he's already made the tackle before he has to chase players half the time. He's clamped them before they've gotten into the space that they need to get to. And that heat map just proves that this guy is everywhere. He does it for 90 minutes. So any talk of his legs, I mean, the best thing that ever happened was the fact that he was at Stuttgart for all these years, because we preserved, his legs have been preserved, right? It's not like Fabinho at 28, he has had to go to Saudi and retire. And yeah, the biggest compliment I can give to him is I've watched him against Rodri, who I believe is one of the greatest DMs to ever play the game in the Premier League. And to watch him go machine for machine with Rodri today, he will be pivotal if we are to win the league this season.
Sir or sirs, don't stop.
I need to butt in again real quick on the diminutive thing, because I think after watching a season of us getting overran in midfield, I was certainly guilty of this, maybe a majority of the fan base as well. We might have fallen into the trap of the incoming midfielders all need to be pace and power personified. And don't get me wrong, being fast and being strong has never made anybody a worse footballer. Can only make you better, right? But it's absolutely not a prerequisite to be some Haaland, Virgil, Rodri-esque specimen of fast and strong to play in these positions. It really just is simple as organizational know-how and energy. I think one of the big renaissance moments for me in terms of analyzing the game and analyzing Liverpool in the last few years has been realizing that being an effective presser is 70% up here and 30% what you're actually doing with your legs, if that makes sense. It's 30% your physical output, 70% your mental capacity to perform the task and know when to do it and how to do it. So yeah, I'm just like you guys in that regard. It's really changed the way I think about midfield play, not just in a Klopp system, but elsewhere too.
Havard sent this. Sorry, guys, before you go, Havard sent this super chat earlier, and I saw it, but he thought I ignored it. But I knew it was segueing into what I wanted to speak about. So Havard, thank you very much for the double donation. Send in another chat, not super chat. Just send it in, and I'll read it out as a compensation for you sending it twice. Hi, Grizz and the rest. Do you miss George Schmadtke? Because Endo was superb. Hope that Richard Hughes and Edwards do a good job as the big German. Hey, listen. Obviously, we don't know for certain, but if George Schmadtke was the guy that recommended or found or scouted or decided upon Endo, then George Schmadtke done his job. Thank you very much, George. Cavcon, did you want to come in on the Endo chat debate?
Yeah. Just on this one, I think we're all in agreement, as I said earlier. I think we all thought, and I did say when he came in, I agree with Evan on that point. We've all changed our tune, but I felt, it's not going to do us any harm. Could be a good squad player. We've had lots of them in the past, like people who have stepped up in big moments, like not just recent history. You're going back to like 2004. There's always been players like that, but he's completely bypassed all the expectations. I think Evan's point, Smash, and Keith as well, timing and reading of the game is excellent, and I think his mileage on his clock is pretty good. And I think Keith, I was actually Evan and Keith when we first signed him, both mentioned that it was like a comparison between Fabinho's games and Endo's games, and there was a massive difference. There's a reason why Fab's legs had gone then. For me as well, I'm always interested in this in football because it doesn't always happen. But see, when you're like a player who can do that side of the game really well, you become a better player when you play with better players, because the players got around him. Look at his passing. He seems to be more confident in his passing because he knows if he can make that kind of lofted ball over the top, he's got runners in behind. So it just, to me, feels like he's got confidence. And I actually messaged Keith this a couple of weeks ago. It's like Endo's now got the confidence of the manager, so he doesn't feel like he has to prove himself now. He feels like he's a mainstay. So now you can see that he's not worrying about, I need to do something amazing in this game to stay in. He's just playing his game. And to be honest, it's funny how football works, because we all listen, and I still don't think Caicedo is a bad player by any means. I'm not going to say that. I still think Caicedo could still be up there under the right team. But how it works, we've probably went, this is a safe bet to get in the squad. And the way it's going, and touch wood it continues, this guy could be a mainstay for the next couple of years. And it's just funny how it works. I just feel like at this rate, if he continues and whatever happens this season, we've been saying Virgil Keith, and I completely agree for Player of the Year, and it might be the obvious shout, but this guy's got to get some credit, because for him to do what he's done with the expectation of the signing is probably surpassed anything we could have imagined. So fair play. And even his passing, like his passings, even that one against Chelsea, the one for Diaz, it just hit the side netting. I mean, if that goes in, that's one of the best passes of the year. It's very similar to KDB against Newcastle for Oscar Bobbs. This guy's playing at a level that I don't think any of us did. And you know what? You just have to give credit to the player and fair play.
Gav, anything to add or subtract?
No, I think the guys made the points on Endo brilliantly. I'll only emphasize the point about timing and intelligence by saying last season we had an absent midfield, both in availability and on the pitch. And one of the points I kept saying was that Fabinho, everyone's saying he didn't have the legs. I thought that much was true, but I also thought his timing was off. I said, at times he's engaging in challenges, but he's having to run 10, 20 yards to even get to make the challenge. And by which point the ball's gone past him, it's gone beside him, someone's gone around him. Whereas Endo's always there. I think you make the point brilliantly, Keith. He's always there. He's always near the man that receives the ball to be able to make the challenge quick. Before the man's been able to take a touch, set himself, get his body positioning right, think about what he's going to do next. Endo's put challenge in, and the challenge is usually clean. It's usually on his feet. It's not diving in. He does make slide challenges when he needs to, but more often than not, he's got his 2 feet on the ground, which tells you that he's reading the game brilliantly. And I think that at times when he goes to play passes, I think he's becoming more confident in it, because you see it shaping up, and you can see that there's a gap to get the ball to where he wants to get it to. But he's got to get it between two men, and it feels tight, but he's still confident enough to try and break that line to get the ball to where he wants it to go. And it's accurate. It's really accurate. And I think sometimes as fans, we like to put players into boxes by saying he's excellent defensively, so that's all he can do. He's brilliantly dribbling and press resistance, so that's all he can do. And I think we're reluctant to say, actually, this guy's exceptional at a number of things. And I think Endo's one of those guys. First and foremost, he's a brilliant reader of the game, tackler. He's a defensive shield, right? But his mobility is brilliant. His passing's brilliant, and even though it's simple, it's effective. So I just think he's been an excellent signing for us, and he's always available. If you think he didn't have to go off to the Asia Cup and perform for his international team, he'd have played almost every minute for us. So that availability as well is incredible. And he's an enabler for the rest of our team, and the more minutes he can play, the better for us.
I've read this stat before. I've read this stat or fact, I should say, actually. Sorry. I've read this fact before. I've always had a Japanese player when he's won a league title, guys.
Good omen.
Yeah, crazy.
I'm just going to leave it there, guys. Oh Lord, in his last season. Wow.
I've been reluctant to kind of say it because I've not wanted it to come across in the wrong way, but there is something very honest and hardworking about players that are good that come from that region of the world. You think about Taki, who we had when we won the Cups, played his part, worked incredibly hard. Unfortunate that probably wasn't at the level that we needed to get and break into the Liverpool team properly, although he probably arguably won us 2 Cups in last year. But work ethic, commitment, and everything was brilliant. I remember when Leicester won the league, they had Okazaki, who sat in behind Jamie Vardy. This guy ran his socks off, and he was like the heartbeat of the team for a long time. That work rate and that honesty and that smile and feel-good factor that they bring to the squad. I don't want it to be misinterpreted what I said, but I do think when players come from that region who are good footballers, they often bring a lot of other positivity as well to sides.
Yeah, the J League's technically quite a proficient league as well. You find that even in Scotland, like a lot of the footballers from the J League, like you had Hatate 2 years ago came, Celtic under Postecoglou, and Kyogo, like they're all quite technically proficient footballers because the standard in that league is focused on like playing out from the back, technically quite good. So I think his ball progression, just to add to that comment there, Grizz, the fact that he's quite brave with the ball progression and looking for those balls through the lines, I don't think that's a coincidence as well, because in that league there is a lot of technically good players. So
the students of the game, aren't they?
Didn't Brighton get Matoma directly from J League as well, or did he have a stop? Oh no, it's directly from J League as well.
I think they sent him out on loan, Evans. I think they signed him and then sent him out on loan.
Yeah, I mean, Matoma, there's an intentionality with the way he approaches the art of dribbling. I believe he wrote a thesis on the art of dribbling. I mean, yeah, so I think it's a totally valid thing to say.
So check this out, guys. Mitomo wrote a thesis on the art of dribbling. And I've already told you guys, shout out Tom Mizzy, who's a regular on the call-in and a channel member as well, who informed us that Endo has a book called Jewel. Make of that what you will. Cultured citizen who made some very uncultured predictions and opinions on the call-in show yesterday has bravely come back and said, I'm late, but they say keep your apologies loud as your disrespect. I'll make a formal apology on the next call-in. Thank you very much. If you missed, you're a numpty if you missed your last night's call-in show. It was stunning viewing. Some of the callers were amazing, and I was in stitches at some of the guys. Cultured citizen is a Man City fan who thought that this team's built differently, his Man City, and our Liverpool isn't the same Liverpool remotely of years gone by, and that the Anfield factor was no more, and that they were going to rock up and beat us 3-0, his prediction was, and it would be very, very comfortable. Just a 3-second silence.
Wow.
We should have won the game, guys. We should have won the game. Luis Diaz, it's time to talk on Luis Diaz. Mohamed Salah makes his appearance, 15, 20 minutes to go, I think, something like that. You think to yourself, oh, can we just finish this off with a Mohamed Salah assist or a goal, and Anfield will pop off like never before, and Liverpool fans all over the gaff? Wasn't quite to be. He tried his best. Within minutes of getting on the pitch, he plays the most sublime through ball. We've seen him play that through ball many a time, especially this season. He's always had it. Now he's playing it more because he's got runners ahead of him, a la Diaz, a la Nunez, a la Jota. Before, in his heyday, in his younger days, he was the recipient of those type of passes. We know Mohamed Salah would have finished that. Luis Diaz is not quite of the efficiency of a Mohamed Salah. Luis Diaz still should have scored, guys. I don't know who.
He should have scored. And to be honest, he probably should have walked away with 3 goals in today's game. But it feels incredibly difficult with Luis Diaz because of how much work he put in for the rest of the game. And actually, after missing the chances, how much he improved. Like, you'd think a player would go inside his shell at this point. And now this guy just thought, screw it, I'm going to try to take everybody on. Not just anybody, Rodri and Kyle Walker. Like, the moment where he checked his run and then drove again and just managed to win a corner come the end of it was like, Jesus, this guy's a fire. This guy is a real fire. He's not going to let anything get him down. He is going to continue to work and work and work for this Liverpool team. So, look, maybe if we would have lost today's game, our feelings would have been slightly different towards Luis Diaz. I certainly think his output does need to improve. I think mainly because he plays in a Liverpool side that's going to create so many chances for him that I think your numbers should be better. Not to say they're bad, but I do think that, playing left wing for Liverpool with these creators around you, you have so many opportunities like he got today to get a goal or 2 or a couple of assists a game. That's what this Liverpool team will offer you. So the fact that he's not is a little bit disappointing, but you can't help like the character and you can't help like the work ethic. You can't help like the man. So all I can do and all I hope everybody does is just not get too frustrated and just continue to support him. Just continue to support, because he is definitely an aid to this team.
Where are we with the frustration levels? Because Cavs pretty much nailed it in terms of, that's my opinion as well. Some people may disagree. There was a lot of frustration, stroke criticism for him on the timeline and in WhatsApp groups that I'm involved in. I get it. You can't be overcritical of a player that had Rodri, Kyle Walker gasping for air by the end. Bring me that oxygen tank, they were saying, because this guy was like, I may have missed chances, but I'm going to do a marathon and I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep trying. And he was frustrated himself. He doesn't mean to obviously miss those chances. That one that I referred to, Cav, was far easier. Than I know you said he should have scored a hat-trick. I don't know if you want, Keith, you want to discuss the second one where, again, who finds him? Who finds him in the box? Someone pulls it back. Was it Bradley? No.
Nunez. Is that the one, the touch, the bad touch in the box, you mean, Chris? That's Nunez.
Yeah,
twice.
right.
Nunez twice found him with 2 exceptional passes, and
Yeah.
Sorry,
he
Steve,
gets-
on you.
No, you just get. Do you know what? Right. So it's funny because me and Conroy talk about this just before we went on air. I know Conroy's got some passionate Conroy. Your one will be fun. I'm going to be a bit slightly neutral. My mates will probably disagree because they always hear me. I'm always like, dude, Diaz. I'm cussing him in real time. I think there's a certain element where it's by design. So when we first bought Luis Diaz, he was a winger, right? He was an out-and-out winger, took his man on the byline, chalk on his boots, right? Cut inside king, you know what I mean? Try for worldies, etc., etc. Particularly this year, 2024, right? With the injuries and stuff like that. Diaz has been given more licenses or has cultivated his role more towards the kind of you're a left forward player, but you can pop up in centre forward positions more than I think I've seen him in previous iterations. So if there's a positive argument to suggest that Diaz is getting into better positions, making better runs, and being more involved in attacking situations where he could potentially score a goal than probably he ever has as a Liverpool player. You know, that pass by Salah, by the way, trademark that, because that is a trademark Mo Salah pass. He does it now pretty much every single game, and it's absolutely world-class, and there's nothing teams can do about it because you can't be too close to him to press him because you'd be out of position, but at the same time, the pass is just weighted perfectly. But Diaz makes a great run to go through the centre and potentially score the goal. So I'm going to do that part of it, but I know that Conroy, you're probably going to want to do the other part of it because it is true, right? Those are three huge chances in the Premier League. Like, it's all nice and that, but there's a title to win.
Before Evan and Conroy finish up on Diaz, and we've got to finish up on the show because man of the match poll has been taking place, and we're coming up to 1 hour 35, over 35. Pixelate Pigeon makes, I think, a valid point. I don't know if you want to take it on to this part and finish off with here. Feels like Diaz never conserves his energy, and that's why he's not the best finisher. Sometimes he looks too exhausted and leggy when he arrives in the box. There has been many a great coach that have actually told forwards or attackers to reserve their energy. I can't remember the top of my head, but there was a famous legendary coach that I read about, and he said, I used to tell the attackers, I want you to be the most energetic when you get a chance. I can't remember who it was, but is that a thing, Con?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, to an extent, you know. In this case, I'm not so sure. Like if Diaz we all remember that great run he went on after he had missed those chances where he looks like he should have lost the ball about 6 times, and it ended up winning a corner. If at the end of that run he had taken a wild shot, I think that would have been definite confirmation of that theory.
Yeah.
Just because, you know, that in that situation definitely. But Diaz, yeah, he should have scored. I mean, I don't think any of us are going to punch down on him any further than that. You know what I mean? All over, you know, groups and the timelines of various platforms, you'll see people saying, oh, so-and-so player would have buried that. My mom would have buried that. My dad would have buried that. Ian Rush would have scored there. I'm just like, well, yeah, you know, Luis Diaz is not Ian Rush. Oh, you just noticed? Good job. It's, you know, I mean, it's, you have to adjust your expectations a little bit. I mean, I don't think we need to overanalyze it any further than that. He had a poor day in front of goal. There are still 10 games to go in this title race, 3 trophies up for grabs. We are going to call his number again multiple times. You know, if you want to sell Luis Diaz in the summer, park that conversation until the end, because from now until the end of the season, you are going to be heavily relying on Luis Diaz, whether you want to or not. So I love Luis Diaz. I love his work rate. I love the way that he's been able to work his way back into the team after such heinous injury issues last season. He's not, in my head, I have no way to confirm this. There's no stats that analyze this, but to my eyes, he's not as explosive as he was pre-injury, but he still is a freak athlete in the sense that he still has every bit of the battery that made him such an incredible asset pre-injury. So I'm looking forward to his contributions for the rest of the season, and I don't think he needs to be told that today wasn't good enough in front of goal.
Yeah, I just have to add, I think 2 things can be true at the same time. I think you don't have to say that he shouldn't have, or let him away with missing the chance. You can say he should have scored at least one of them. I think the one into the box, he's got to hit that first time. I think any striker hits that first time, try to take a touch in that position.
I think he was
But
behind him, lads.
But then he's not a number 9 naturally, so maybe he just doesn't think like that with that situation. The one I think he has to do better is the first one, because Darwin does unbelievably well. Like, no one's talking about that swivel pass. He turns Nunes to find Diaz. He can't even see that. It's a blind pass in that area.
Reverse the first half one.
His
first half was civil pass. The reverse pass he does. He loses touch.
I'm talking, that one where it's like it's there, but he's just touches. He just for some reason he just doesn't prepare himself, and it's too far ahead. I think that is a bigger chance.
Your points, Grizz. Yours is when Nunes is out wide right and he cuts the midfield across the pitch and finds Diaz. That one's behind him. Conroy, you're talking about the touch in the box where the first touch is bad and it rolls to the keeper.
Yeah,
they're two chances I didn't even remember.
Yeah. So that one, I think he has to do better there on the touch. And I think the biggest chance is obviously Salah, great ball through. I think as well what's really good is when you've got two runners like that and Nunes as well, they can run and Salah, that was just past the halfway line where Diaz was when he played it, but he's not far off that. So even if you're catching teams with a high line like that, obviously you can't be offside if you're in the own half as well. So that had been worked on. He has to score that one. I think, let's be honest, I said to Keith as well, I loved Mane, and Mane is the reference point, but Mane did miss chances as well. Do not get me wrong. Like, there's Manchester City, I always remember that one-on-one, skied it. There's a lot of chances like that, Champions League. I just think because it was free today and it's such small margins that one of them had to go in. However, two things can be true. I still think he had a tremendously good game. I think some of those runs, I don't think I've seen a player.
I've never seen Kyle Walker terrorized like that, guys.
Yeah,
I've been watching Premier League longer than you because I'm older than you, not because I'm more of a football man than you. All right? Before you guys come back at me and, you know what I mean, cuss me down. Just because I'm older than you, right? And I've seen the whole Kyle Walker career from Spurs to Man City to being spoken about in terms of the greatest Premier League fullback ever, right? And there's cause for it, and I get it. I've never seen him terrorized like that, guys.
And he was clever, Diaz. He was clever. It wasn't like predictable. Like, he's done Mbappe and Walker's had his card because I'm as fast as you. So it doesn't matter if you hit it down the line. It's Diaz his timing. We spoke about timing for Endo, but like out wide, it was his timing to cut back the other way. I think twice in those runs, he sent someone for a newspaper because they were going that way and he went back down out wide.
When he done Bernardo Silva on the sideline, that was beautiful. Bernardo Silva just sat down. It was
that's
brilliant.
impressive as well. Going at that speed and that much happening, there's about three City bodies around you as well. That's impressive. So two things can be true. As I said, that's a thing that he will improve on. But I also think we need to give him a little bit credit in the sense of these are central positions. And one of the biggest criticisms we had was wing play, but he's not linking up. Well, now we're comparing him to Mane, but Mane got really good at, even when he was wide, getting into central positions, like you said at the start, Grizz. And that is something that's going to be handy going forward. If the finishing will improve, but if you've got someone who has that pace and that ability, I think it makes a lot of sense to just stick with him. Like, as Evan said, I think the idea of selling Diaz is just a bit mad, because if we'd said that about Nunes a month ago, and I'm not saying he's the most clinical person, but look how much his form in front of goals improved. Like, we always can't be too reactive. Two things can be true at the same time.
The court of public opinion is a dangerous place. I mean, history has taught us that, but I want to say it's the manner in which the chances were not taken, because it's one thing when you don't score when you should have / you didn't work the keeper, to use the punditry phrase. It's another thing when the passes to play you in are objectively great and you can't take them into stride. That's a different type of frustration, and something that Darwin struggled with. You know what I mean? Some of the frustrations with Darwin at the beginning weren't just not converting the one-on-one, it was taking a heavy touch, taking a touch this direction when you should have taken it that direction. So I think it's just the manner of it. Everyone will be over it because, you know, here's my hot take. Between now and the end of the season, Luis Diaz will have at least a few more big contributions, and you'll be happy he's there to do it.
Hopefully your words of wisdom come to fruition. Guys, we have to discuss, obviously, we pressure. Kelleher, someone mentioned earlier on, Kelleher makes a magnificent Alisson-esque. And how many times have I said that in the last few weeks? Another Alisson-esque save from Foden, who was a pest in the opening 15 minutes, but again, was someone that was swatted away in the second half. Very much like Kevin De Bruyne. Kevin De Bruyne goes off effing and blinding at his legendary coach and some of his players, like, why you take me off and not him? Lovely to see. Heads were spinning again from Pep and KDB and Silva and everything. And we have them penned in. We're missing chances. We're creating opportunities. We're causing havoc. And literally, in the 98th minute, we could have had another iconic moment at Anfield. Kloppage time would have been an absolute thing if the referees and the officials had the whatever to give that decision. We will go around one by one. We will speak to our resident PGMO representative, but we shall start off with Keith.
For me, this is so. What constitutes dangerous play these days? You know, what frustrated me the most.
If anyone has the sorry. If anyone has a law quotation, one of the chat, there's like still over 530 of you guys in there. If someone wants to just put in the chat an actual definition of dangerous play, then I may read it out, please.
It's reckless, it's dangerous, and the referee completely bottled it. And do you know why the referee completely bottled it? Because Pep Guardiola, just like Mauricio Pochettino did previously, and it's becoming a bit of a trend of these managers say on the embargoed press conferences, oh, you need to watch out for the referees. Let me hope that the referees are doing this, putting that type of pressure. That pressure that Pep put on the referee 100% played a part in the ref not going to the monitor. Because the fact that he didn't go to the monitor, he should have looked at that. He should have looked at that and they should have said, are you convinced that that is the right decision to make? Yeah, you might have seen it. Yeah, you might think he might have got a touch of the ball first. You might think all of these things, right? You, the on-field ref, might have even seen the whole situation. But go to the monitor, look at it in slow motion, look up the whole sequence and go and see it again. The fact that that didn't happen, but we've seen the ref go to the monitor for plenty of decisions this season, was an absolute farce and an absolute disgrace. It's reckless. It's dangerous. He kicks him in the studs. His foot is high. He messes up with the bounce. And the fact that that penalty is not given is because there was too much pressure on the ref, because the ref did not have the guts to make what would have been a title-defining, in my opinion, because I think if Liverpool beat Man City today, I wouldn't have thought we could have been caught at this moment. A title-defining, he did not have the guts to do that, and for me, he completely bottled it, and it's a robbery, in my opinion.
I think I can, and I think I can excuse Oliver, but I can't excuse the rest of the Muppets.
I'm in agreement. I mean, I thought this was what VAR was for. You know, where the referee doesn't quite have the angle to see everything that's happening, but the guy up at, you know, Stockley Park or whatever it's called, is seeing every angle, and they can slow it down if need be or whatever it is. And they look at it a few times, they take their time, and they ultimately refer it to the referee to make his decision, because it's still his decision on the field. It's crazy to me that they would just look at that, see the height boot go into somebody's chest, and just consider that okay. Anybody anywhere else on the pitch, it's a foul, probably a yellow card. That means if it's in the penalty box, it's a penalty. And pure and simply, they bottled it, as you guys have said. They bottled it. It's late on at Anfield, and they just didn't want to make a decision. And they'll just try and sweep under the carpet, and we all move on because everybody's still in the title race, and there won't be any gap given this weekend. It's a disgraceful decision in my eyes. And I think it's what's an extra shame that probably won't be spoken about is McAllister put in a world-class performance today. Not only did he score a penalty, but he'd have won the penalty, he'd have scored the penalty, and Liverpool would have gone on to have won that game. And it's probably detracted a little bit from how exceptional he was. World-class he was today. And De Bruyne goes off whinging, moaning, crying about God knows what. But McAllister stays on that pitch for 90 minutes and ran the show. And he could have played his part in the two key moments, and one of which was taken away from him because some referees, and much like the rest of the referees, just cannot get something so simple right. It is frustration, and I'm tempering my anger, to be honest with you. So yeah,
the moment of truth, Conroy Dean, the moment of truth, if you may say.
Well, do you know what? Like, I know we have a joke about this and stuff, but I think every week I comment, I'm fair, I'm balanced. I think I try to do my best to understand the laws to a certain extent. I think most of the things I've said this season being correct when it's came to like the independent panel review or like Dale Johnson, like most things I've said, usually it's worked out. That's been the way of it. Could try to stay on top with that. And I'll be perfectly honest, I think I don't just say stuff to get a reaction or whatever. That for me, as soon as I saw it, I thought it was a penalty, right? Since then, I've looked into anything else to be reasons for it. You can say dangerous play, Keith. I don't even think you need to go that far, to be honest, mate. A foul doesn't need to be dangerous play. You want to say clear and obvious. I mean, there's maybe examples where I think, yes, football's a subjective sport. It's going to be difficult. I can understand that. This one, I can't understand it. I think it doesn't even touch the ball, by the way. McAllister shoulders it and he contacts him. It's pretty clear. It's not as if we're talking about, feet to feet kind of close and it's like one of these, it's just a bit of a weird angle or whatever. It's straightforward to me. And I think I'd said before, Michael Oliver, I'm not expecting a ref to see it. Football goes 100 miles an hour, right? VR, he has, as Keith said, he has to be told to go to the screen in this instance. Like it is so clear in my mind that we're going to have a subjective opinion about re-refereeing, is that this should not come in this conversation. This is a clear incident. This is not one of these that we have debates about, and we've had it all season, and I'll stick by my opinions. I'll always do that, but this one is a penalty for me. I think Evans tweeted about it, and I think it's the best tweet I've seen on it. It's just a high-pressure moment. The thing it gets me is, I don't like when people say it has to be a quicker check. Take your time, because ultimately, take your time. How you can look at that and not send Michael Oliver at the screen, I don't have a clue. I'm pretty sure Michael Oliver will come off that pitch, look at that decision, and he'll say, "Why did you not send Michael Oliver?"
Yeah,
you might not like him, but I think he is the best ref in the country.
I think so as well.
There's no way he'll look at that and say, "Why did you not tell me to go to the screen?" Sorry, Evan. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. I was just going to piggyback. I think, unfortunately, I have a sneaking suspicion Liverpool will not for the first time this season be part of some sort of internal review process in PGMOL where they're like, oh yeah, we could have done a bit better there. I'm with you guys. I need to frame my argument in that I am not a conspiracy theorist. I do not think refs are being paid. I do not think there is a conspiracy against Liverpool. I just generally think the quality of refereeing is not quite good enough. I think the interpretation of the rule book has gone a bit rogue. I don't think VAR is being implemented correctly, efficiently, quickly enough. My thoughts are that there is this horribly annoying gray area in the game. And I'm going to refer to my own tweet because I'm obsessed with myself.
Let me try to find it while you're talking. I'll try to find it.
Looking at it properly for the first time, I said that's a scandalous no call. And I called it the purest example of that's a foul anywhere else on the pitch that you're likely to see in the near future. That is such an annoying gray area in the rule book. And it's not just exclusive to Liverpool. It's probably happened a dozen times already in other fixtures this season, where something that is clearly 99 times out of 100 a surefire foul anywhere else on the pitch. That happens in the center circle. That's a foul and a yellow card. What? It's easy. And here's the thing. I'm not having a go at Michael Oliver, Grizz. I, like you, think this is an absolute just horrible process, to use the cursed word from whoever was on VAR today. Michael Oliver is absolutely within his rights, because VAR exists, to not give that, because balls, it's a corner kick, the ball's bouncing around. What if the ball falls to Mo Salah, he sticks it top corner, Michael Oliver looks like a genius because he played advantage, great. But as soon as these images are played back to the VAR official, VAR needs to have the reaction that everybody watching that game around the world had of, ooh, yeah, yikes, you should look at that again. Because in real time, it all happened so fast, I didn't have an appeal. But as soon as I saw what was happening, it all of a sudden becomes very scandalous. And the last thing that I think is wildly sort of disturbing about this is that I, with my own thumb on my cell phone on Twitter, was able to slow the clip down, by dragging on the little dot. I was able to slow it down and see that McAllister actually quite clearly gets to the ball before Doku. His chest makes contact with the ball first. So not only are we in dangerous play territory, not only are we in studs up territory, not only are we in is this a penalty territory, we are also, McAllister technically wins the 50-50 territory. And if I was able to do that with a low quality video with my thumb on Twitter, and the guys up in the VAR booth with infinitely higher quality feeds and angles and tools in which to analyze the clip were not able to come to that conclusion, then that's really disturbing. And I'm going to circle back to my general complaint with PGMOL. There's a horrible lack of transparency that's going on. I'm going to be the annoying American who says they should adopt annoying American refereeing rules. There needs to be a page that tweets out things right after the match. The script needs to be tweeted out right after the match. It shouldn't take a scandal to the tier of Diaz at Tottenham for PGMOL to release things quickly and efficiently. We don't know what's going on. We don't know what's being said. We don't know what the dialogue was between Oliver and the VAR officials. That does not fly. And if we had more dialogue, we would all end up perhaps still frustrated, but we could avoid all the silly conspiratorial nonsense because we could see, well, at least the incompetence exists every single time because now we have all these transcripts and dialogues and recordings to base that off of. So yeah, those are just my 2 to 10 cents on the situation.
Mane have a run, guys, sends in a message and in the chat that I wanted to sort of end up in segue into where are we now and where does this leave the title race and how much will we rue basically the Diaz goal at Spurs, Odegaard playing basketball, and the UFC kicks some of the most disgusting decision made against this season. And they absolutely we got an apology from PGMO for the Diaz goal. We got an apology for the Odegaard decision, and no doubt we will get an apology this week about the Doku incident as well. That's 3 apologies against us that have gone against us for decisions that have gone against us in games where we would have had a further 4 to 6 points, whatever, depending on if you think we could have held out against Spurs if we took the lead. But the reality of it is, guys, we are 1 point ahead of Man City with 10 games to go, level with Arsenal, behind them on goal difference with 10 games to go. They play each other in the next league game, I believe. We have 2 home games before that game, which is Brighton at home, Sheffield United at home. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. Sheffield United at home, Brighton at home. Guys, very quickly, let's do this. Where are we? What do we think now? What do we want, for example, in that game now, Keith, in the Arsenal game? If you've done your calculations and whatnot, and how are you feeling about this game now? Because we all said, I'm going to change my mind, or I'm going to give an opinion depending on the result. Now that we know the result of our game, what do we need in the game between them two?
To be perfectly honest, we need Arsenal to win that football game. I think the more separate, I think the bigger the separation between Manchester City and us, the better. I think it works in our favor. We're level on goal difference, I think it is at the moment. We're behind only on goal difference. And Arsenal have had the opportunity to stat pad. Obviously, draw. But again, draw still keeps City just breathing down our necks. If they lose, that's 4-point gap, which could be quite significant going into that. While there's no gap between us and Arsenal other than goals. And I think ultimately, it's Liverpool's time now to start stat padding. Arsenal have had their stat pad moments, right? They've beaten teams that have been hella off form. Call me nuts. I know Brighton are a fun team. They're a nice team, but I just think that Brighton and Sheffield United are there for the taking, and specifically Sheffield United. I think it is time for us to start going on our little run in terms of starting scoring a few more goals, starting getting some big victories, and starting to close that gap. I still think that the title race is still got a long way to go because, you got Spurs who are going to play such a massive role in this because they actually have to win games to finish 4th, right? There's teams that we've all got to play that have still got something to play for, and there's teams that we're going to play that are either going to be relegated or going to be chilling. So I think these next 2 games for us, we have to win convincingly. the 2 home games, big opportunity, particularly the Sheffield United game, to win significantly, in my opinion. I don't believe that what Arsenal did is not out of the realms of what we can do to Sheffield United. I'm sorry to say, people might say, oh yeah, that's being a bit arrogant, bit disrespectful, etc., etc. I'm sorry, Sheffield United are probably one of the worst teams I've seen in the Premier League since Derby. And I think when they come to Anfield, we close that gap in terms of the goals. And I also think Brighton are there for the taking. And it's revenge time for Brighton for being quite one of those teams that have been a thorn in our side over the last few years.
Side.
I think it's time for us
especially at Anfield.
Exactly, especially at Anfield. Revenge. It's revenge season. We should be taking that game, and we should be taking it as they've done us dirty. And again, I think Man City are still the one to be careful of. So a draw only keeps them breathing down our necks. But if Arsenal go over there and beat them, and we win our game at Brighton, that's a 4-point gap. That is significant, and I think we're good enough to chase Arsenal down.
Guys, I need a quicker answer. Keith went on monologue there.
I would City, listen, Manchester City, I've given y'all so much respect over the years in terms of how good you are at kicking the ball around. Just that alone. But I've reached a point where I think Arsenal currently, as of March 10th, are a better team than you. So I would prefer it if y'all could beat Arsenal for us, because I would rather not have to deal with the burden of hoping Arsenal drop points. I've reached that point with Arsenal. I think they are the best team in possession in the world. And I would prefer it if y'all played Arsenal and beat them 3-0 and helped us chip away at that goal difference. We also need to start drubbing teams, like Keith said. That's all I'll say. Keep it brief.
Wow. Very clear and concise from Evan. Arsenal's running is probably the hardest, guys. If City... Why am I giving my opinion when no one's asked me? Sorry,
well, Keith wanted an Arsenal win. Ev wanted a Man City win. I want a draw. I just want to be ahead and take it game by game. I just want to have the points on the board. I want, in the build-up to the game, to see Liverpool, first position, top of the league, a point gap, 2-point gap. I don't care. I just need to see Liverpool at the top. And then, like I say, just take it game by game. I think 3 teams here have the potential of winning every single game. That's not true. Man City play Arsenal head-to-head, so that can't happen. But I believe they're capable of winning every other game remaining. So for that reason, I just want the points. I want them to draw. I want Liverpool to have the points. I want us to treat it like 10 cup finals and just stay ahead.
If they draw, we go, and if we win, please, Liverpool. Now's not the time to have any slip-ups. But if we win our 2 games in hand, and if they draw, what's the status quo?
Still back to what it was, 2 points ahead.
A draw is great. I would take a draw over anything else. But if someone has to win, I hope it's Man City, because Arsenal they're moving me differently these days. I can't.
Chris, if they draw,
I don't know.
Right, and Liverpool win their remaining games, Liverpool win the league. So all we really have to stress about is for 90 minutes watching Liverpool. Do you think I'm trying to see Arsenal and Man City games and taking that stress on as well? I don't need I don't need more minutes of stress.
Got enough
Give
on
me
our
the
plate.
points. Give me the points, and I will just watch Liverpool, and that is it. I will live my life happily.
MFC Solo says, Liverpool are favourites. Don't run from it. It's looking ugly for us right now, but we need to win 10 out of 10. Remember who we are. When we must, we do must. Speak soon.
Thank you for the super chat. Favorites at the time?
Yeah, if we won, we would have been slight favourites. But hey, listen, we're not running.
If it's based on schedule, I kind of see that, but I think Liverpool's list of absentees surely takes them out of the favourites. I don't know. Whatever.
Evan, Conroy's laptops died on him because we have done a mega show for you guys today. We have put on a 2-hour absolute class for you guys. Hope you guys have enjoyed it as much as I've enjoyed it. We will, of course, speak on the title race. We will speak on... We've got the Europa League return this week.
Yep,
yeah,
Thursday.
What kind of lineup do we go there? And then we have a trip to Old Trafford in Evan's favourite cup, or one of Evan's favourite cups. So we will have another domestic trophy to try to sort of progress in. So much to talk about coming up. And of course, then we continue with the Premier League race after the international break. We have a break. We can settle down, breathe, relax, and come back strong. Conroy has returned, but I think it's too late, Conroy, unless you just want to say bye to your fans. Conroy's back to say bye to his fans. I was just closing the show, Conroy, I'm not going to lie, because it's been over 2 hours and I'm absolutely battered and knackered. But of course, thank our resident nerd, our resident referee, our resident positive fan, and our resident absolutely the cool-minded Cav, the McAllister of the team. And me, just a host. I'm just a host, as one of my friends calls me in the WhatsApp group. He goes, just shut your mouth. I don't want to hear your opinions. You're just a host. I just want to see you host all the time. So big up, my mate. This has been Red Fellas, man. This has been amazing. You guys have been amazing. We guys have been amazing. And Liverpool were very close to being amazing today. Well, they were amazing in effort, but we got done over, I think. The battle goes on. The war goes on. This is mad. This is going to be some ending. And we will be there every inch of the way. Take care.